You stand in light. The chosen ones do not collapse under the weight of distance. They become the very architects of it. You are the gravity that now pulls at their soul, and they don't even understand why. While they attempt to rebuild a life that no longer includes you, patching it with artificial replacements, you remain still, powerful in your detachment. Not because you're heartless, but because your heart is aligned with higher wisdom. You never needed them. That's the truth that burns the most. Because they thought your strength was in your love for them, your loyalty, your compassion. But now they understand. Your true strength was your ability to walk away without breaking. Your power was never conditional. It was sovereign. The storm they now face is not your vengeance. It is their own consequence. It is the echo of disrespect, the mirror of their neglect. And though they may cry out for another chance, another sign, another door, they know deep down that it's too late. The door didn't close with anger. It closed with finality. Because the chosen ones don't turn back once a lesson is learned. You weren't moved by ego or bitterness. You were moved by alignment. Walking away was not weakness. It was sacred strategy. It was divine timing. It was the result of a soul that recognized the value of its own energy. You were not reacting. You were responding to the quiet call of your higher self. The chosen ones do not operate in chaos. They move through spiritual signals, through divine confirmation. You didn't leave to make a point. You left because your purpose in that space had expired. And now they sit in the aftermath, not as victims, but as witnesses of their own undoing. The absence you left behind was not punishment, it was prophecy. A revelation of the truth that was always there but never respected. They now see what they refused to see when it mattered most. That you were the foundation, the anchor, the spiritual glue that held it all together. They mistook your presence for permanence, your loyalty for naivety, your stillness for dependence. But now that you're gone, the mask is off. Their illusion of strength has crumbled. And what's left is the wreckage of their own spiritual negligence. You were the structure they leaned on, the grounding force they exploited without gratitude. And now, without you, everything falls apart. The more you center yourself in peace, the more they dissolve in chaos. They expected you to return. They expected your heart to override your discernment. They thought time and silence would wear down your resolve. But they didn't realize. Chosen ones don't shrink. They evolve. You are not suspended in time, waiting for things to make sense. You are not entertaining the possibility of reconnection. You are not tethered to memory. You are free. And that freedom, that emotional independence is what haunts them most. Your detachment isn't cold, it's sacred. It's clarity. It's the highest expression of self-love and spiritual maturity. You're not looking back because there's nothing there for you anymore. The soil stopped growing long ago. The roots rotted while you were still pouring water. And now, you've walked away. Not in anger, but in full acceptance. And that, more than anything, is what breaks them. You didn't slam the door. You just stopped knocking. You didn't scream. You simply became quiet. And that silence now thunders in their spirit louder than any argument ever could. You were never meant to stay in a place that couldn't hold your growth. You were never meant to waste your light in places that celebrated your pain but feared your power. And now that you've ascended, they are left chasing ghosts. Ghosts of your voice, your essence, your presence. But ghosts don't come back. They linger only to remind. And the reminder is permanent. They lost something divine, something rare, something sacred, and it will never be theirs again. They realize it now, far too late, that the control they believed they had over you was nothing but smoke and mirrors. A fragile illusion held together by your quiet tolerance, your sacred patience, and your grace. What they mistook for influence was merely borrowed energy. It was the access you allowed, the space you shared, not because they earned it, but because your heart was open. And now that access has been revoked, not with anger, not with vengeance, but with spiritual authority. What once felt ordinary now feels unreachable. The presence they took for granted was never ordinary. It was extraordinary, divine, and rare. And now, as they wander through the aftermath, searching for meaning in a world that no longer includes your energy, you move forward. Steady, grounded, untouchable, and unstoppable. Your separation wasn't just a decision. It was a sacred disruption. It triggered something they weren't prepared for. A complete dismantling of everything they thought they knew about love, power, and presence. You didn't exit quietly. The chosen ones never do. You left behind a silence that roars louder than any confrontation. You created a void that doesn't just leave space, it demands introspection. Your absence forced them to look inward, to face the shadows they once hid behind your light. Because when you withdrew, the entire equilibrium shifted. They could no longer lean on your energy, your emotional labor, your quiet stability. And in that moment, they were forced to confront what they truly were, without the comfort of your presence to hide behind. You were never just someone in their life. You were a mirror, a divine reflection of all that was unresolved within them. Every insecurity, every unhealed wound, every piece of themselves they refused to acknowledge, you reflected it back with truth and love. But instead of healing, they resisted. Instead of honoring the gift, they overlooked it. And when you walked away, the illusions they wrapped around themselves began to unravel thread by thread. What they once ignored now screams at them in the silence you left behind. What they once laughed at, dismissed, or belittled now echoes through their every thought. You don't have to speak for them to hear you now. Your absence is the voice. It is the teacher. It is the loudest truth they've ever faced. The chosen ones don't teach through revenge or noise. They teach through presence, and even more powerfully through departure. Your absence became the curriculum of their awakening. Losing you was not just a heartbreak, it was a spiritual earthquake. It cracked open the false foundations of their ego, their control, their superiority. You forced them to see that they were never truly in control of anything.